I've really enjoyed this exhibition because I've been quite restricted in my technique before. I pushed it further to using more colours, was quite limited, and so I'm really enjoying being able to sort of paint quite freely again and be quite random in my paint application, whereas before it was very controlled. Like I'd basically plan out all the colours and it'd be like blue in this section because everything's, it's just all lined forms. So yeah, I was very defined as to which plane had which colour, whereas now I'm sort of going with the flow and just sort of letting it take me wherever. And I'm really enjoying that aspect of the expression. So yeah, I think I'll definitely keep going in that direction and just developing that more. I don't think I can stay with that single coloured anymore, even though that kind of defined my first works. But yeah, I think these ones just have so much more warmth and life to them. And I always feel like there's a sense of them waiting. It's like waiting for some sort of recognition. And that's how they're sort of semi-autobiographical, I suppose. Yeah, there's just a sense of them wanting to be recognised for something, to be special, or I don't know, which is something I think everyone feels, don't they, when they're a child? They want attention and they want to be recognised for something. Whether I did a similar painting for my last Melbourne exhibition, and it was called Am I Beautiful? So it's just sort of wanting that sort of vulnerability of wanting confirmation that, you know, you're doing something good or right, or that you're loved. They're sort of, I guess, semi-autobiographical. It's quite universal, the things that I want to depict through them. It's a lot about standing your ground and asserting your individuality. There's a defiance and also a vulnerability about them. Yeah, they're kind of about strength, I suppose. And they're a little bit also about, as I grew up in Australia, around lots of Australian kids, and knowing that I was physically, you know, quite different from everyone, it sort of plays on all the phenotypes that I hated about myself. So the really big round face, a big head and little Chinese eyes. So it's sort of really, really exaggerating those, celebrating them rather than thinking about them as a negative, which I used to when I was a kid. I've incorporated more of the body and they've taken more of a three-dimensional form, so technically they've changed, but conceptually they're still the same. Playing around with more colours, and before they were very flat, so I'd only pick one colour and I'd execute the whole body in the same colour. And the application of the paint was very random, whereas now I'm a lot more selective to sort of, yeah, try and create shadows and stuff to give it a little bit more three-dimensionality. They look, I suppose, like they're kind of toddler age, yet they've got these sort of empty stares which are quite, you know, penetrating, and some people find them a bit spooky actually, but she'll always be the same age. I think because they've got just such a universal appeal, and I like the fact that they draw you in because they're quite cute, I suppose. They're very melancholic, and there's a sense of the fact that you can't really you can't engage with it because of the empty eyes with her, which I like because it's her kind of standing her ground a little bit, I suppose. Yeah, they largely say the same thing. It was mainly sort of a, I guess, colour exercise, and just finding different moods with the colours. But yeah, I think the message is definitely the same with all of them. My last exhibition was very stark. There was a lot of white. Really, it was only 4 colours. My exhibition was pink, black, red and white. So it was very stark, and I've really enjoyed just bringing that warmth into this exhibition, which I wanted to. I used quite a lot of old Chinese paintings as reference for my colour palettes because I wanted, yeah, a much more warmer exhibition for this one. And it's very much so about finding a sense of belonging, and it's about origin as well, because I discovered sort of recently that my great-grandfather could have been possibly Dutch, which was like a big shock to the family because he was adopted, and so it's made me really be interested, because it's made me question, like, you know, I always thought it was just like a pure Chinese line, and I'm thinking there's this whole other culture that I could be exploring, but I think it would be quite impossible for me to trace that back. And so it's really forced me to sort of, question the whole where we belong, whether it's here or it's in my genes in terms of whether I'm pure Chinese or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's just a really interesting path that I never thought I would have to sort of even look at. So yeah, it's really interesting. That's one of the things, I suppose, that I've had to really try and get rid of. That's a bit of leftover from that very traditional side of my culture, which is, you know, always save face, always think of everyone else before you think of yourself. You're never saying what you think, and denying yourself expression because you don't want to upset anyone. And but I think I'm getting better at that. It's definitely a very cathartic experience in terms of it is helping me to really get in touch with my history, which I never have bothered before. I think because I think it's a cultural thing that I've never really been encouraged to research my ancestry, or, you know, going back pre-Malaysia, because we're 5th generation Malaysian, and I'm really very ignorant about the history of China, and so it's really forced me to, through the art, research that side of my culture, which first of all, I never really had much interest in it, but now I really have a very genuine interest, and it's mainly through the art that that I'm sort of starting to get interested in its politics and stuff like that, which is, quite important to me now. If you saw my last exhibition, I think a lot of people were a bit shocked by it, because it was tackling some pretty serious issues, and to be honest, I don't think people took it very well, because my first exhibition was largely quite decorative and much more like this exhibition in a way, but it was really it was a really definitive sort of exhibition for me, because I found it was a big breakthrough in terms of the rhetoric that I wanted, I guess, to come across to my audience. And I just needed to just sort of assert that I had a little bit more to say than just sort of pretty pictures that were just sort of regurgitating images that I'd seen from old Chinese paintings. So that was a really important exhibition for me, but it was a lot more angrier in terms of colour scheme and content. Hard to look at, hard to hang, and nobody probably weren't in their lounge rooms. But I feel like it was, like it was a really cathartic experience, and I needed to do it. Because my last artist statement from that exhibition, I read it now, and it sounds really angry, and I had to oh gosh, I think I feel okay about that now. So I think I've got rid of all the anger or whatever I was feeling, and I feel, like this exhibition was a lot more contemplative, and I've accepted that. Whereas before I was very angry about lots of things to do with my upbringing that I felt sort of hard done by a bit. But then I look back and I think, oh my God, I've just had this completely middle class upbringing and living in this amazing country, and really everything is material when you're an artist. So it's it's added to my experience, and that can only be good. So I think this is that sort of, I feel like this is a little bit of that acceptance, and I've managed to sort of reconcile that. A few people have commented that it's quite a nice, it's sort of calming to look at the images, so I think that's come across. It's not just the technique, it's also the, what I'm trying to say, I think has developed quite a lot since the Melbourne one. And as I said, the Melbourne exhibition was very important for me for that reason. And now I basically run everything through that filter. If it doesn't say what I need to say, then I pretty much kind of think, no, scrap the idea. My first exhibition, I was vaguely thinking I kind of knew what I wanted to say, but not being able to articulate it at all. And now I think I can, quite confidently. So I think that's the biggest step, is that I can actually talk about what my work is about, even more so than the technique, because I think I've always been very, very confident about my technique. But having said that, I think there's a lot more three-dimensionality in everything, even the scenic pieces. Before, like I said, I didn't really do much blending of within the same colour. There wasn't any tonal change, whereas now, yeah, I blend sort of quite a bit. So things, yeah, a lot more three-dimensional. So I think that's the thing that's changed most about my technique. But I think conceptually, I've developed a lot further. And I think that's really, really important, because I think if you want to stay in the game, you really have to know what you want to say in order for your work to develop and mature successfully. And if you're not sort of focused, it's very easy to just sort of paint pretty pictures and make money, try and make money. It feels really good. I'm really excited now. On Monday, when the pieces first arrived, I was just feeling terrible about them, because I'm quite amazed at how much, there is so much skill in just hanging the work. And I used to really underestimate that. And I used to think I could do it, but I can't. I'm actually terrible at it. And it's a bit like a filmmaker or a writer needing editors, and it's almost like a form of editing, because the way I had it set out, it really weakened all the works, whereas now they just look really strong the way Sam has put them together, and I'm really pleased with how it's come together. Because when I first came in, I thought, oh no, I basically got two lots of work. The girls, which are all in the same position, and the lotuses. And I was just really scared that people thought I had no ideas or something. But I really did want to keep this exhibition very focused, because one of the weaknesses of my first exhibition was that it was sort of all over the shop. There were like little animals here, girls here. Yeah, just really random. Yeah, I feel like it's just a lot more focused, but I'm really excited and really nervous at the same time, and really excited to see what the reaction is, see what people think has changed in my work, and see what their opinions are. But I'm very happy with it.